It looks like we have a few people already. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Maria. I'm going to put everybody on mute just so that as people join, we are going to, they don't interrupt with noise. And then I'm going to share my screen with you and we can get started. Let's see. Right. All right, everybody. So it's so awesome to see a few people. I'm sure we'll have people rolling in. But my name is Jennifer Larino. I'm the founder of Lede New Orleans. And we're going to go over the basics of the program and a little bit about how to apply today. But I wanted to start off with a quote to just kind of get us in a mindset here in thinking about journalism and how we change things and move change. I found a awesome James Baldwin quote. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced, which I think is something that kind of describes how journalists go about their work, but also how we should be thinking about journalism as an institution and some of the things that can be changed. So we can just reflect on that for a second while people roll in. All right, let me go back. So what are we going to be talking about today? First, I'm going to give you an intro to Lede New Orleans and to myself as your host here. Then we're also going to have an overview of Lede Voices, which is our first multimedia project. And that is what selected fellows for the spring fellowships will be working on. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll also go into the application, the process there, what the application entails, and then resources that are available to you to help you in that. And then we'll wrap it up with a Q&A. I'm hoping that we'll have at least 15 minutes. We could have 20. I'm just going to try to move through things quickly. We have 40 minutes total. So if at any point, just a few housekeeping items, if at any point you need to duck out, you need to take care of something, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and do what you need to do, take care of yourself. Also, if you just make sure that you're muted right now, but to unmute yourself when you go to ask a question at the end during the Q&A session. Just make sure that we can all hear you. Okay, all right. So first, about me, the person talking. Again, my name is Jennifer Larino. I'm the founder of Lede New Orleans. I'm a freelance journalist here in New Orleans. My background is in print and digital journalism. I most recently worked at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and am now freelance writing. I've been in New Orleans and a reporter in New Orleans for about 10 years. So I moved here in 2010. I studied journalism at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, and I care deeply about local journalism and its future. And in that vein, storytelling and the craft of storytelling and how we tell stories, especially at a local level. It's very important. We hear a lot about national stories and national media, but there's a lot to do, a lot of work to do on the ground and the local level, and that journalism is important too. Then I also like cooking and travel and costuming, especially for Mardi Gras. I'm already thinking about that. And playing guitar, dancing, all those things. So that's a little bit about me. Let me tell you about Lede New Orleans. We are a nonprofit news initiative that brings together local youth, journalists, and creatives to create equitable, community-driven media. We started last year, and a big focus of ours is on supporting emerging Black, Latinx, Asian, and LGBTQ plus journalists. Our focus is on youth ages 18 to 25, but we're not excluding anybody younger or older than that. That's just where we're focusing right now. Our programming could evolve in the future. And what do we mean by equitable and community-driven journalism? Equity for us means being intentional in how, and not thinking not just about the stories and the content of the stories we're telling, but also who is telling the stories, and how we're involving the community in deciding the stories that are being told. So that's very important for us as we build this. And then we also believe that you learn by doing the work, and observing the work, but also by doing the work and getting in there. Journalism is something you learn by doing it, and we want to give everyone the opportunity to do the work. So why does Lede New Orleans exist? There are a number of truths that we are seeking to confront in the work that we do. The first among those is that local newsrooms do not reflect the communities they serve as a whole. And that's the case in New Orleans, as well as many cities in the United States. They do not reflect the racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic diversity of their communities. And I'll just point you down here to this little graphic I included just for a visualization. There's a lot of data on this, but I think this is a good visualization of the breakdown of newsrooms. This section back here is all the newsrooms that are majority white or skewed majority white. And inside this circle is all those newsrooms and the print and digital side of things that have reached parity with their city. That means they look and reflect the demographics of their city. And as you can see, there's a lot of newsrooms on the back side of the circle, and not as many inside the circle. So it's a visualization of the work that still needs to be done in a lot of newsrooms. Another reality is that communities of color are underrepresented or misrepresented in a lot of media today. And then lastly, we believe that all people should be equipped with the skills to tell the stories of their community and drive change in their communities. So even if you don't go on to become a journalist, these skills are vital to telling the stories of your community and driving change. So, which leads us to Lede Voices. Lede Voices is our first multimedia project. This is what you will be applying to be a part of if you do indeed go on to apply for our spring fellowships. Lede Voices is a team-oriented multimedia project. The project and what we'll be producing is a series of 20 short video profiles. The subjects of the videos will be young creators and change makers from underrepresented communities in New Orleans. So we're looking at profiling people under age 35 who are doing something interesting or creating or being an advocate for their community, just interesting narratives from our underrepresented communities here in New Orleans. Who will be making these videos? We'll have each video, each of the 20 will have a team of 3 assigned to it, charged with creating that video and doing that interview. Those teams of 3 will include a fellow, a reporting lead, which will be an experienced journalist, reporter, and a visual lead. So that will be a filmmaker or a photojournalist, somebody in charge of the visual project part of the project, so the video part. Each team will have about a month to complete the video project. So that will include an interview, sit-down interview with the subject where you'll also be getting footage, and then the editing process and the finalization of the video. And then the videos will be publishing to our social media channels. We are also working to build media partnerships. So by the time these start rolling, we could be partnering with local media to publish these on a larger scale, or at least get them shared on social media so they reach a wider audience. But the goal here is to do some project-based learning to create an environment where you can learn the basics of interviewing, recording video, and creating, really. So what can you expect? I touched a little bit on this first point on the last slide. But fellows who are selected for a fellowship can expect to get experience interviewing, shooting video on a DSLR camera. So you'll be charged with doing B-roll, essentially, and capturing different angles on the video shoot, as well as editing experience in Adobe Premiere Pro. So you'll get some hand-on video editing experience under the guidance of somebody, an expert, either a filmmaker or a photojournalist, like I said. An interesting part of the way we're designing the program is that you get to work one-on-one with the professionals on your team, which is not always the case in other internships and fellowship experience, but we really want it to be a little bit more of a one-on-one type work environment, where it's very much like you are in a professional environment and not a team. And then there's also a stipend involved. There's a $45 stipend for the following time commitment. A 1-hour team meeting where you'll be meeting before your scheduled interview with your subject. So you'll be meeting with your reporting team lead to go over questions and do an initial interview of your subject. So you're not walking in cold to the interview or the video interview. That time also includes a 2.5-hour interview with your video profile subject. So that will be broken in, you'll be meeting your subject in a place of meaning for them. So where they do their work, or if they're we just did a dancer, we met her at a studio. So you'll be meeting them there. You'll break that time between an on-camera interview. Well, you will be asking part of the questions there, and then actual footage of the person doing their work. So like I said, we just did a dancer, we interviewed her, and then we went and she danced and did a few of her choreography for us, and we filmed that. And then the last part of that time commitment connected to the stipend is 2 1-hour video editing workshops. So these will be workshops where you are essentially doing an assembly edit of the video profile. These are short video profiles. They're we want to get them down to a minute long, but 2 minutes, 3 minutes. These are social media focused. So you're going to be doing editing, assembly editing, which is essentially picking the shots and the frames that you want to use to build the story and kind of building the general arc. And then your visual lead will be helping you edit it and get it to that final product. And then just a note on the stipends, those are remitted after the video is complete. So similar to a freelance assignment in freelance work, you get the work done, and then payment is remitted. Okay, so some key dates for Lede Voices and for these spring fellowships. Hopefully everyone knows by now, but I'm just going to reiterate, and I highlighted it. January 31st, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Applications are due. Our application period will close, okay? That first week of February, February 3rd through 12th, we're going to be doing interviews to follow up on the applications with applicants. Everybody will know whether they're going to receive a fellowship or not by February 14th. And after that, the project will begin with our team lead orientation. So we have to get the professionals that will be working with y'all on board, and we'll do that in early March. And then by mid-March, our team and subject assignments will be made and we'll start working. So those month-long assignments will be started. You'll note, let me go back. You'll note that there's no end date on the fellowship. I've gotten that question. This is because, one, we are still trying to figure out how many people we want in the fellowship. We're still trying to figure out demand, for one. We have flexibility built in there in terms of how many people will be ultimately receiving fellowships. And then also the project is complete when we complete the work. So there's 20 videos. Each fellow will commit, we want them to commit to doing at least 2, which would be about 2 months of work. But after that, you may have the opportunity to take on more work if you want it. Another note on that, we are in the process of doing fundraising. So once we have experienced fellows, we may also be offering the opportunity to kind of advance in a level within the program and receive a higher stipend to dedicate more time to working on videos. So if you find this is something you like and you want to do, you can move forward with that. Let me see. I think that covers that. And what does the application look like? So I actually have a physical application here. That's what it looks like. But just to talk about what the application covers, there's questions about how you identify your education and your experience, just to give us a feel for where you're coming from. We also have questions on your access to transportation and technology. These are questions that we want you to answer honestly. It's not a ding on you if you don't have a cell phone access or a computer, or you need a car or ride share or whatever. We need this for planning. So just be honest, and let us know what your needs are. We want to know, okay? There are also 2 short response questions that you're responsible for answering. There are 3 total, but we want you to choose 2. So 2 of the 3 you're responsible for answering. And don't feel like you have to write a whole diatribe. We're just trying to get a sense for who you are and what your thoughts are. And there'll be more in the next slide about help with that if you want writing help. And then at the end of the application, there's a 1-minute selfie video. You don't have to get fancy with it. It's just holding up your phone, tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the program. And I even have an example of one that I did myself to show you a little bit about what it's like. I won't click on the link through to see the actual application, but we can go back if we need to, and if there's a question specific to it, we can do that. All right, so can I get help with my application? Yes, absolutely. We're offering help in many different forms. We want to provide as much access and support that you need. The first thing I do want to note is we have something called editor's office hours available. And this is for you to get email feedback on your short answers. So those written response questions. We will pair you with a editor in our network to get feedback on your answers. The only stipulation with that is that we need you to submit answers and get paired with somebody by Friday, January 24th. So that's next Friday. That will give your coach a week, or a few days to get back to you. Any later than that, and then they wouldn't have enough time to give you feedback. We also have a hotline where you can talk one-on-one with me. So if you leave this webinar and you still have questions, I will send out a copy of this presentation to everybody that's here. It includes the link to schedule with me. It will give you a whole calendar list of dates that I'm available, and just click on there to schedule with me, or you can email me directly at jen@ledeneworlean.org. And then also join our email list. I think everyone on here should be on our email list by now, but if you're not, you can click on this link provided here, or you can also email me directly. All right, so I think we got through everything. Now's a time for you to ask me any questions that you want, and we can go back and click on links and stuff. Just make sure that you unmute yourself and then remute afterward. So I'll give you a moment to do that, and we can see if there's any questions. Oh, sweet, 6:20, so we're perfect. Did I do such a great job just covering everything? There's no questions. Let me also, do we have a chat open? Let's see. We do have a chat option if you feel more comfortable writing it. Otherwise, I can go back to the application process and click on that link. if that would be helpful. Okay. Let me go back. So, I just wanted to kind of give a look at the application here. If anybody's curious, and I'm not sure how many are joining by phone only, so this may not be helpful to you by phone, but I wanted to scroll down to the response questions. Another part I didn't really notify is a section of the application has to do with your availability. Make sure that you fill that out so that we know how open and available you are. Again, this is for planning. Be honest, it doesn't really affect who we're choosing. We just want to be able to plan around that. And then also the questions, I did want to give an overview of that. The short response questions to give you a taste. Tell us about a time you worked with a team to get something done. What was your role? How did you use your strengths to help the team? The second response question, if you could snap your fingers and change one thing about New Orleans right now, what would it be? Why? And the third, what is the best piece of advice you have received? Why did it stick with you? So you want to choose 2 of those 3, okay? And there is a word count limit or a character count limit on those. So let me know if you need help kind of crunching things down to get into that limit. All right. I think that covers everything. I don't think that we have any more questions. But I'll stick around since we have time, and I'm happy to answer anything. I know that we have a few potential mentors on here, so if you have a question specific for that, let me know. But I can go back to our presentation here. All right. Okay. Okay. I think that should do it. If anybody has any additional questions, I will be available, like I said, over email. Then also you can schedule a phone conversation with me if you think of anything following this. But yeah, I look forward to reading applications and getting to know each of you a little better. All right, I'll wrap things up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I appreciate it.